Hope you enjoy being homeless, my brother says, loud enough for our aunt, our uncle, and 6 other relatives to hear, 3 days after we buried our mother. I'm standing on the porch of the house I grew up in. My clothes are stuffed into black trash bags on the welcome mat. The locks are new. Derek fills the doorframe, arms crossed, chin lifted like he's won something. Behind him on the lawn, 8 members of my family stand in a loose half circle. Nobody says a word. I don't feel anger. That's what surprises me. I feel something quieter. A stillness, like the air before a storm front rolls through. I look at the house. The chipped siding Dad always meant to repaint. The kitchen window where Mom used to wave when I pulled into the driveway. Then I look at my brother. And I realize, this isn't family anymore. This is a transaction. Derek doesn't know that our parents spent years planning for exactly this kind of moment. And he definitely doesn't know how much I'm actually worth. My name is Brielle Mercer. I'm 32 years old. And this is how I lost my parents, my home, and my brother, and found everything that actually mattered. 4 months. That's the distance between the 2 worst days of my life. Dad had his stroke in March. Sudden, massive, no warning. He was restaining the back fence on a Saturday afternoon, and by Sunday morning he was gone. Mom lasted until July. The doctors called it heart failure, but I know better. She stopped eating 3 weeks after the funeral. She stopped talking 2 weeks after that. She just dimmed. I moved back into the house the day Dad died, quit my remote work schedule, canceled every showing I had lined up for my rental properties, and parked myself in my parents' guest room with a suitcase and a slow cooker. For 4 months, I cooked Mom's meals, drove her to appointments, sat with her when she forgot where she was, and held her hand at 3 in the morning when she called out Dad's name in the dark. Derek visited twice, once for 40 minutes, once for maybe 20. Both times, Carolyn waited in the car. But at the memorial, standing at the podium in a suit I'd never seen before, my brother delivered a 5-minute speech about sacrifice and devotion. He thanked every person in the room by name. The caterer, the florist, the woman who printed the programs. He didn't mention me once. Aunt Patricia dabbed her eyes. 2 cousins nodded along. Uncle Ray stared at his hands. After the service, I drove back to the house to shower and change. The knob didn't turn. I tried again. Checked the key. Tried the back door. Same thing. Derek had changed every lock while the family was still eating potato salad at the church. My suitcase, my mother's quilt, 3 boxes of books, all of it piled in trash bags on the porch. He appeared behind the screen door, casual, almost bored. I changed the locks for security reasons. You understand. I called Aunt Patricia first. She was Mom's older sister, the one who hosted every Thanksgiving. The one who still sent birthday cards with $10 bills inside. If anyone would listen, it would be her. Your brother is the executor, honey. He knows what's best. Her voice was kind. That made it worse. I booked an Airbnb 12 miles outside of town, a studio above a garage with a hot plate and a window that stuck. I didn't cry when I unpacked. I didn't cry when I hung Mom's quilt on the bed frame. I set my laptop on the kitchen counter and made coffee and sat there until midnight, staring at the wall. 3 days later, Derek sent an email. Not to me, to every member of the family. I was CC'd, not addressed. I want to be transparent about the estate situation. Brielle did not contribute to Mom's care during her final months and is not entitled to anything from the estate. I've taken on the responsibility of managing our parents' assets and will distribute what's appropriate in due time. Please direct any questions to me. 12 people received that email. I know because I counted the addresses. My phone rang 4 times that week. Cousin Shelby, Cousin Nate, a family friend from church, Aunt Patricia again. Every one of them said some version of the same thing. Don't make this harder than it has to be. I didn't correct them. I didn't forward Mom's pharmacy receipts, or the home aid schedule I'd coordinated, or the 4 months of grocery runs logged in my bank statement. I didn't explain. I opened my laptop instead and pulled up my investment dashboard. 6 properties, 14 active leases, a brokerage account I'd been building since I was 22. I looked at the number. I didn't smile, but I exhaled. I don't need his house, but I need him to stop lying about who I am. The workbench showed up on Facebook Marketplace on a Tuesday. Dad built it himself. White oak, dovetail joints, 30 years of saw marks grooved into the surface. He spent every weekend at that bench. It's where he taught me to sand with the grain, where he let me hold the level while he mounted shelves. It was worth maybe $200 to a stranger. To me, it was irreplaceable. Derek listed it for $75. Then Mom's china cabinet appeared. Then the standing mirror from the hallway. Then a set of cast-iron pans Dad picked up at an estate sale in 1994. By Thursday, half the house was for sale. Uncle Ray called me that evening. He wasn't a talker, retired electrician, quiet by default, but something in his voice was different. "Did you know your brother's selling your dad's workbench?" I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "He told Patricia it's for estate expenses," Uncle Ray continued. "Taxes, maintenance, that kind of thing." "Is that what you think?" A long pause. Then, "Your brother owes a lot of money, Bree. I heard it from his supplier, the one who did the concrete work on the Hadley job. Derek never paid him. $340,000, give or take." I sat down on the edge of the Airbnb bed. The springs creaked. "His company's underwater," Uncle Ray said. "Has been for a while. I'm not saying I know the whole picture, but something doesn't add up." I thanked him and hung up. Then I sat in the dark for a long time, thinking about what Derek was actually doing. He wasn't grieving. He wasn't managing. He was liquidating, fast, quiet, and without oversight, because he was drowning. And if I didn't do something, every trace of our parents would be sold off to cover his debt. The envelope arrived on a Friday. Heavy cardstock, embossed return address, the kind of stationery that means someone's billing by the hour. Voss and Calloway, attorneys at law. I opened it standing at the mailbox. A formal notice. The reading of our parents' last will and testament was scheduled for the following Thursday at 2 p.m. Attendance requested for all named parties. Paperclipped to the back was a handwritten note on the firm's letterhead, in small, precise cursive. "Ms. Mercer, your presence is essential. There are additional matters to discuss. H. Voss." Additional matters. I read the phrase 3 times. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know Harold Voss beyond his name. I'd seen it on documents Mom had signed years ago, but we'd never spoken. I looked him up that night. Estate planning attorney, 31 years in practice, listed in the state bar directory with no disciplinary actions. His office was on Main Street, above a hardware store. Small-town lawyer. Serious reputation. My phone buzzed while I was still reading. Derek. The first time he'd called me in 2 weeks. "Don't bother showing up next Thursday," he said. "No hello. There's nothing there for you. I've already been through the will with the court." "I'll be there." "Save yourself the embarrassment, Bree. I already know what's in the will." "Then it shouldn't bother you if I show up." Silence. Then a click. I set the phone down and read the note from Voss again. Additional matters. I thought about the last thing Dad said to me. 3 days before the stroke. On the phone, his voice tired but steady. "Voss will take care of everything." At the time, I thought he meant the funeral arrangements. Now I'm not sure what he meant. Aunt Patricia called it a family dinner to bring everyone together. What she meant was a stage for Derek to make his case before the reading. Her dining room seated 10. By the time I arrived, 8 chairs were already taken. Derek at the head, Carolyn beside him, Aunt Patricia, Uncle Ray, cousins Nate and Shelby, and 2 family friends, Mr. and Mrs. Alderman from church. Derek didn't wait for dessert. "I want everyone to know where things stand," he said, setting down his fork. "I'll be managing the estate going forward. The house, the accounts. I'll make sure it's handled responsibly." Carolyn jumped in before anyone could respond. "We've sacrificed so much already. Derek deserves to be compensated for everything he's done." I cut a piece of chicken, chewed, swallowed. Nate glanced at me sideways. Shelby studied her plate. Uncle Ray kept his eyes on his glass. "Brielle," Aunt Patricia said softly, leaning across the table. "Just let him handle it, sweetie. It's easier for everyone." Easier. That word hung in the air like cigarette smoke. I set my knife down. The room went still. "I'll be at the reading, Derek. I assume that's not a problem." His jaw tightened. Carolyn's smile froze. Aunt Patricia looked at her hands. It's a formality, Derek said. You can sit there if you want, won't change anything. Then we agree, I said. Nothing to worry about. Carolyn turned to Aunt Patricia. She's just going to cause a scene. That's all she ever does. I looked at her. Steady. No heat. I was in the room when Mom took her last breath, Carolyn. Where were you? The table went silent. Forks stopped. Someone's glass touched the wood a little too hard. Nobody corrected me. Nobody corrected her either. But for the first time, I noticed Uncle Ray looking at me. Not with pity, but with something closer to recognition. Derek's strategy in the days that followed was simple. Isolate me before the reading. Tuesday morning, Carolyn texted Aunt Patricia, Shelby, and 3 other relatives, a group message I wasn't part of. Shelby screenshotted it and sent it to me without comment. Just so everyone knows, Brielle is planning to contest the will. She hired a lawyer and is trying to take everything for herself. Please don't engage with her until after Thursday. Derek is heartbroken. Within an hour, my phone rang 3 times. Cousin Nate. Brie, don't do this. It's not worth tearing the family apart. A church friend. Your parents wouldn't want this. Aunt Patricia again. Honey, being greedy only hurts you in the end. I didn't correct any of them. I didn't say I hadn't hired a lawyer. I didn't say I had no intention of contesting anything. I didn't say that I had no idea what was in the will and had never asked. I said the same thing to each call. I'll see everyone at the reading. That night, I sat at the Airbnb kitchen counter with the letter from Voss spread out in front of me. I'd already read it 6 times, but this time I focused on the handwritten note, the last line I'd glossed over. There is a final section that applies exclusively to you. A final section. Exclusively. I pressed the paper flat with both palms and stared at those words until my coffee went cold. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew that Harold Voss, a man who billed $400 an hour, had taken the time to write it in his own hand. That means something. Whether it meant what I needed it to mean, that I'd find out in 48 hours. The night before the reading, I drove past the house. It was almost 10. The porch light was on. The one with the cracked cover that Dad kept saying he'd replace. Derek's truck sat in the driveway, next to Carolyn's SUV. The curtains in my old bedroom had been changed. New fabric, darker. I didn't recognize it. I parked across the street and turned the engine off. The maple tree in the side yard had grown since I'd been a kid. Dad planted it the summer I turned 9. Mom used to joke that the tree and I grew at the same rate. For a few years, she was right. I sat in the dark for 5 minutes. I thought about Dad teaching me to fix the back fence when I was 14, the way he handed me the post-hole digger and said, "You're strong enough, don't let anyone tell you different." I thought about Mom's chili on Sunday nights, the kitchen radio always tuned to the oldies station, the way she hummed along without realizing it. I didn't cry. I put the car in drive and left. Back at the Airbnb, I laid out clothes for the next morning. Gray blazer, black slacks, low flats, professional. Nothing performative. My phone buzzed as I was setting the alarm. Unknown number. A text. Ms. Mercer, this is Harold Voss. Please arrive 15 minutes early tomorrow. Alone. I read it twice. Then I plugged in my phone, turned off the lamp, and stared at the ceiling. I don't know what's in that final section. I don't know what Dad meant when he told me Voss would take care of everything. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know what I've built. And whatever happens in that room, it won't undo 10 years of work. Right now, I'm sitting in this Airbnb the night before the will reading, and I have no idea what that lawyer's note means. My brothers told the whole family I'm getting nothing. Half my relatives won't even look at me. If you've ever walked into a room where everyone's already decided you don't belong, drop a comment and tell me about it. I want to know I'm not the only one. Stay with me. What happens next changed everything. I pull into the parking lot behind Voss and Callaway at 1:43 p.m. The building is old, red brick, 2 stories, a hardware store on the ground floor, the law office upstairs. A brass plate beside the stairwell door reads, "Established 1987. The receptionist leads me to a private office at the end of the hall. Harold Voss stands when I enter. Silver hair, neatly parted, gray 3-piece suit, wire-framed glasses. He's maybe 60, with the kind of posture that suggests military service or a lifetime of discipline. "Ms. Mercer, thank you for coming early." He gestures to a leather chair across from his desk. Your note said there were additional matters. He nods, sits, folds his hands on the desk with the precision of someone who measures words like currency. Your parents came to me 6 years ago, he says. They were very specific about what they wanted, very thorough. He opens a drawer and removes a sealed manila envelope, thick, with a notary stamp in the corner. He places it in front of me. Don't open this yet. When the time comes during the reading, I'll direct you. I pick it up. It's heavier than I expect. Did my brother know about this? Voss shakes his head. Your parents requested complete confidentiality. That request extended to all parties, including other beneficiaries. I hold the envelope with both hands. The seal is crisp, unbroken. I promised your mother I would do this correctly, Voss says. He removes his glasses and cleans them with a cloth from his breast pocket. I intend to keep that promise. He doesn't elaborate. He doesn't reassure. He puts his glasses back on and stands, signaling that the private meeting is over. I follow him toward the conference room, the envelope pressed against my ribs like a second heartbeat. The conference room is beige walls and fluorescent light. Oval mahogany table, 8 chairs, a water pitcher nobody touches. A framed print of a courthouse hangs above the credenza. I take a seat near the window. The envelope sits in my lap under the table. Derek and Carolyn arrive at 1:56. He's wearing a charcoal suit I've never seen, new, by the look of the creases. Carolyn is in a fitted navy dress, pearls, full makeup. They look like they're heading to a closing. Derek spots me and pauses for half a second, then the grin. Surprised you came, he says, loud enough for the room. This'll be quick, don't worry. Carolyn leans toward Aunt Patricia, who's already seated with her purse on her lap. She's just here to make a scene, you watch. Aunt Patricia says nothing. She folds a tissue in her hands. Uncle Ray comes in next, quiet nod to me. He takes the chair to my left, then Nate and Shelby, then the aldermans, who sit near the door like they're not sure they belong. 8 people, plus Voss. Uncle Ray leans in while Derek is shaking Mr. Alderman's hand. His supplier filed a lien last week, he murmurs. The concrete guy. It's public record now. I glance at him. He stares straight ahead. He's in deeper than anyone knows, Uncle Ray says. Before I can respond, the door opens and Voss enters carrying a document box, thick, legal-sized, with 2 separate stacks inside. He sets it on the table with a weight that makes the water pitcher tremble. The room goes quiet. Derek straightens his tie and checks his watch. Let's get this done, he says. I've got a meeting after. Voss doesn't smile. He opens the box. Voss begins with the formalities. Date of execution, names of witnesses, legal capacity of the decedents. He reads slowly, without inflection, the way someone reads who has done this hundreds of times and knows the room is never listening to the preamble. Then the bequests. To my son, Derek Allen Mercer, my wristwatch, purchased in 1991, and the contents of my toolbox in the garage. Derek's jaw shifts. A toolbox. To my daughter, Brielle Ann Mercer, my wife's engagement ring and the family Bible, inscribed 1962. I feel the weight of that sentence land somewhere behind my sternum. To my sister-in-law, Patricia Dwyer, my collection of first edition novels. Aunt Patricia presses the tissue to her mouth. To my brother, Raymond Mercer, my gardening tools and the cedar bench on the back patio. Uncle Ray dips his chin. Once. That's it. No house, no savings accounts, no investment portfolio, no mention of the property. Derek's shoulders drop. Relief. He turns to Carolyn with a look that says, I told you. Carolyn touches his arm. See, Derek says, not quite under his breath. That's it. That's all there is. Aunt Patricia glances at me, something soft and sad in her expression. It's okay, honey. I keep my hands flat on my lap, over the envelope. I say nothing. Voss sets the first stack of papers aside, aligns the edges, places them in the box. That concludes the last will and testament of Richard and Eleanor Mercer, he says. Derek pushes his chair back, starts to rise. However, Voss says. Derek stops, half standing. There is one final section. The room holds its breath. Derek looks at Voss. Voss looks at the second stack. Hope you enjoy being homeless, Bri, Derek mutters, just loud enough. Because I made sure you get nothing. Voss pulls the second stack from the box. Derek sits back down, slowly. What final section? His voice has an edge now, the first crack in the performance. Voss opens the second stack. The pages are thicker than the will, heavier stock, notarized tabs along the margin. 6 years ago, your parents established a revocable living trust, Voss says. He doesn't rush. This trust is a separate legal entity from the will. It was funded independently, and it passes outside of probate. Derek grips the armrest. I'm the executor. I would have known about this. You are the executor of the will, Voss says. The trust has its own trustee, myself, and its own designated beneficiary. Silence. The fluorescent light hums. Carolyn leans forward. Who's the beneficiary? Voss doesn't answer immediately. He removes the first page from the stack and sets it face up on the table. Then he looks at me. Not at Derek, not at Carolyn, not at the room. At me. Every head turns. Aunt Patricia, Uncle Ray, Nate, Shelby, the Aldermans, Derek, Carolyn. I feel their eyes land on me one at a time, like stones dropping into water. I reach into my lap and break the seal on the envelope Voss gave me 40 minutes ago. Inside, a bound copy of the trust agreement, a deed for the house, a deed for a commercial lot on Route 9, a brokerage statement, a savings account summary. My hands are steady, my breathing is even. I spread the documents on the table in front of me. The deed to the house, the same house Derek changed the locks on, the same house where he piled my things in trash bags, sits on top. Derek stares at the papers, then at Voss. The sole beneficiary of the Mercer Family Trust, Voss says, is Brielle Ann Mercer. The room doesn't move. Derek is on his feet before the echo fades. This is fraud. His voice cracks high and loud. She manipulated them. She got to them when they were sick. Voss holds up one hand. Not aggressive, just firm. The trust was established 6 years ago, when both of your parents were in full mental capacity. It was witnessed by 2 independent parties and notarized by a licensed notary public. The documents were reviewed by a second attorney for conflicts. There is no ambiguity. Derek's face goes dark red. He turns to me. You conniving little... Sit down, Derek. Uncle Ray doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Derek stands there, breathing through his nose, fists at his sides. Carolyn has her hand on his arm, but he shakes it off. Carolyn's eyes are wet now, a precise, practiced kind of tearfulness. She turns to Aunt Patricia. After everything we've done for this family, after everything Derek sacrificed. Aunt Patricia doesn't respond. Her face is white. Her tissue is shredded in her lap. Nate stares at the table. Shelby has her hand over her mouth. Mr. Alderman shifts in his seat and looks at the door like he's calculating the shortest route out. Derek turns back to Voss. How much? His voice is raw. How much is in the trust? Voss flips to a tabbed section in the stack, but before he reads the figure, he pauses. There's also the matter of Ms. Mercer's personal net worth, he says. Your parents asked me to document it as part of the trust addendum, for context. Derek's mouth opens. Nothing comes out. I don't look at him. I keep my eyes on the papers in front of me. I didn't manipulate anyone, Derek, I say. They just saw you clearly. Voss reads the trust assets first. The family residence at 412 Birch Lane, appraised value, $420,000. Derek flinches. 1 commercial parcel, Route 9, Lot 14, appraised at $285,000. Carolyn's hand drops from Derek's arm. Trust savings account, held at First Regional, $180,000. Aunt Patricia makes a small sound. A breath caught sideways. Voss turns the page. Per the grantor's instructions, the following is a summary of the beneficiary's personal financial position, prepared independently and verified by a certified public accountant. He adjusts his glasses. Ms. Mercer holds ownership interest in 6 residential investment properties across 2 counties. Total estimated equity, $1.2 million. Separate brokerage and retirement accounts valued at approximately $340,000. He sets the page down. Combined personal and trust net worth, approximately $2.4 million. The number fills the room like pressure. Derek stares at the page. His face drains. Not red anymore, but gray. The color of old concrete. His mouth works but produces nothing. His eyes go glassy. Then his knees buckle. He grabs the edge of the table, misses, and goes down. One knee, then both, then sideways against the chair leg. His head drops. The room erupts in motion. Carolyn lurching forward, Aunt Patricia half standing, Uncle Ray reaching out but pulling back. Mr. Alderman rushes to get water. Shelby covers her face. Nate just stares. I don't move. Voss pulls a final document from the stack, a handwritten page in blue ink, and holds it calmly, waiting. Uncle Ray looks at me from across the table. He nods. Once, I nod back. On the floor, Derek's chest rises and falls. He's breathing, but he doesn't open his eyes. It takes 2 minutes. Someone tilts Derek's head. Mr. Alderman returns with water. Carolyn fans him with a manila folder, murmuring his name. Derek's eyes open. He blinks at the ceiling tiles, then at the faces above him, then at me. Carolyn helps him into the chair. His hands are shaking. The glass of water sits untouched in front of him. He turns to Voss. His voice is hoarse, stripped of every ounce of authority he walked in with. I'll contest this. I'll fight every dollar. Voss doesn't blink. The trust is a non-probate instrument, Mr. Mercer. There is no contesting mechanism available to you under state law. Your parents chose this structure specifically to avoid that possibility. Derek swallows. His Adam's apple moves like a fist. He turns to me, and the shift is immediate. From defiance to something smaller, something closer to begging. Bree, come on. We're family. You can't do this. I hold his gaze. 5 seconds. 10. The room is so quiet I can hear the clock on the wall behind me. Mom and Dad did want this, I say. That's exactly why we're here. Derek opens his mouth, closes it. His eyes are wet now, not the performative kind, the real kind, the kind that comes when a person realizes the story they've been telling themselves doesn't hold. Carolyn grabs her purse. This isn't over. Voss clears his throat. There is one remaining item. He lifts the handwritten page, the one in blue ink, and holds it where the room can see. The paper is off-white, slightly creased, written in a careful, slanted hand I would recognize anywhere. My mother's handwriting. Your parents requested this be read aloud at the conclusion of the trust disclosure. Derek closes his eyes. Voss holds the letter with both hands and reads, To our family, this is Eleanor speaking, though Richard helped me find the words. Aunt Patricia presses both hands over her mouth. We know this will be hard. We know some of you will be angry, but we made this decision with clear minds and full hearts, and we need you to understand why. Voss pauses. The room doesn't breathe. Derek, we love you. We have always loved you. But for years, we watched you take more than you needed and blame others when it wasn't enough. We tried to help. We gave you money for the business. We co-signed the first loan. We co-signed the second. When you stopped returning our calls, we still left the door open. But a door can only stay open so long before you have to decide who's walking through it. Derek's chin drops to his chest. Brielle never asked us for anything. When Richard got sick, she was the one who came. When I couldn't remember what day it was, she sat with me until I could. She didn't do it for money. She didn't do it for recognition. She did it because that's who she is. My throat tightens. I press my nails into my palms. We are sorry we didn't protect you sooner, Brielle. We should have said these things out loud while we still could. Please forgive us for that. The room is silent. Completely, utterly silent. We ask that you forgive your brother, but do not let him control your life. You have earned everything you have. Don't let anyone make you feel small for it. Voss sets the letter on the table. Brielle never asked for recognition, he reads, the final line. That's how we knew she deserved everything. Carolyn stands and walks out. The door clicks shut behind her. Aunt Patricia is crying. Shelby is crying. Uncle Ray's jaw is clenched so tight the muscle pulses. Derek doesn't move. He stares at the table. His shoulders shake once, then again. I sit perfectly still, both hands flat on the wood, and let my parents' words settle into the room like dust after a long wind. My mom wrote that letter knowing she wouldn't be here to read it herself. And sitting in that room, hearing her voice through someone else's mouth, That's something I'll carry for the rest of my life. If your parents ever believed in you when nobody else did, type "they knew" in the comments. It means more than you think. Now let me tell you what happened after we walked out of that office. 48 hours after the reading, I sit across from Harold Voss in the same office where he handed me the envelope. The trust transfer is complete. The house, the commercial lot, and the savings account are now legally, formally, and irrevocably in my name. Voss walks me through the timeline with the same measured precision he brought to the reading. The house is trust property, he says. It was never part of the probate estate. Your brother had no legal authority to occupy it, change the locks, or remove any contents. I nod. How long do we give him to move out? 30 days is standard and fair. I'll send formal written notice today. Send it. Voss makes a note. Then he opens a second folder. There's another matter. As executor of the will, your brother had access to the estate's operating account, the one designated for taxes, maintenance, and funeral costs. He slides a bank statement across the desk, highlighted in yellow, a series of withdrawals totaling $28,000 over 6 weeks. The expenditures don't match any documented estate obligations, Voss says. No receipts, no invoices. The probate court will likely view this as a breach of fiduciary duty. I stare at the yellow lines. $28,000. Gone. If you choose to report it, the court can compel repayment and potentially surcharge him for damages. I close the folder. File the report and send the eviction notice. 30 days. Not 29, not 31. Voss nods. I'm not trying to punish him, I say, more to myself than to him. I'm trying to stop the bleeding. Voss stands and extends his hand. His grip is firm and brief. Your parents chose well, he says. I don't answer. I take the folder and walk out into the afternoon light. Derek hires a lawyer within the week, a litigator from the county seat, someone who handles contract disputes and personal injury, not estate law, the kind of hire you make when you're swinging blind. 3 days later, his own attorney calls him back. I know this because Aunt Patricia tells me. She calls on a Tuesday evening, her voice tentative in a way I haven't heard before. Derek's lawyer reviewed the trust, she says. He told Derek there's no case, the documents are airtight. I don't respond right away. I let the silence sit. Derek called me after, she continues. He was, I don't know, screaming, then crying, then screaming again. He blames your parents. He blames Mr. Voss. He blames you. He blames everyone except himself. Patricia is quiet for a moment. Yes, I suppose that's accurate. That night, Derek calls me directly. His voice is raw, the hoarse, scraped-out sound of a man who has been yelling into an empty room. You set this up, he says. You poisoned them against me. I didn't set anything up. Mom and Dad would never. Mom and Dad did, Derek. 6 years ago. Before anyone was sick. Before any of this. He breathes hard into the phone. I hear Carolyn in the background. Distant, muffled, something about packing boxes. This isn't over, he says. It is for me. I hang up. The next morning, Aunt Patricia calls again. Carolyn had reached out to her overnight, asking for money. Patricia declined. Derek, I think you need to talk to a bankruptcy attorney, Patricia told him, not a family one. He hung up on her, too. I don't feel victory. I feel the quiet that comes after something large and heavy finally stops falling. I write the email on a Wednesday night. It takes me 4 drafts. Derek, I know we're not in a place where this will be easy to hear, but I want you to know that I spoke with a colleague who specializes in Chapter 11 restructuring. He's willing to take your call, no charge for the initial consult. His name is Paul Whitfield, and his number is below. I'm not offering money, I'm offering a door. What you do with it is up to you. Brielle. I send it at 11 p.m. The read receipt comes back at 11:04. His reply arrives at 6 a.m. I don't need your charity. You stole my inheritance and now you want to play the hero? Save it. You and Mom and Dad can all rot for all I care. I read it once. Then I close the laptop. I don't reply. There's nothing left to say to someone who turns a rope into a noose and calls it your fault. That afternoon, I call Voss and confirm the timeline. The 30-day notice was delivered by certified mail. Derek signed for it. The clock is running. I ask Voss one final question. Is there anything else I need to do? No, Ms. Mercer. The trust administration is substantially complete. The probate court will handle the fiduciary matter separately. Thank you. Your parents would be proud of how you've handled this. I hang up and block Derek's number. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. A boundary isn't a punishment. It's a decision about where you end and someone else begins. A week later, I drive past the house. Derek's truck is in the driveway. Boxes stacked on the porch. He's carrying a lamp through the front door. I don't slow down. I don't look back. I offered him a rope. He chose to hang himself with it. That's not my weight to carry. The fallout comes in stages, like aftershocks. Week 1. Derek's construction company is served with a lawsuit by his primary concrete supplier. $340,000 in unpaid invoices. Without the estate assets he was counting on, he has no collateral to negotiate. The company's contractor license is suspended pending resolution. Week 2. Carolyn moves back to her parents' house in Deerfield. She takes the SUV and the dog. I hear this from Shelby, who heard it from Nate, who heard it from a mutual friend. The chain of information is long and imprecise, but the headline is clear. The marriage is fracturing under the weight of the debt Derek hid from everyone. Week 3. The probate court issues a formal demand for Derek to account for the $28,000 in missing estate funds. His attorney, the litigator, the wrong one, files a response claiming the withdrawals were for reasonable administrative expenses. The court requests receipts. There are none. In the family, the shift is slower, but just as measurable. 5 of the 8 people who sat in that conference room have stopped returning Derek's calls. The alderman sent a card to my Airbnb. Just a note, handwritten. We're sorry for how things went. Your parents raised a good daughter. Aunt Patricia calls on a Saturday morning. Her voice cracks on the second sentence. I should have listened to you, not him. I'm ashamed I didn't. I let her talk. She tells me she went back and read Derek's email, the one about me not contributing, and compared it to what she heard in the conference room. She says the gap between those 2 versions keeps her up at night. I failed your mother, she says. You're here now, I tell her. That counts. Uncle Ray's version is shorter. He texts me 2 words, well done. 35 days after the reading, I turn the key. The house smells wrong. That's the first thing. Not bad, just empty, like air that hasn't moved in a while. The hallway is bare. The coat hooks are gone. The mirror that used to hang above the shoe rack, gone. Derek took everything he could carry, and a few things he probably shouldn't have. The living room is stripped. The dining table is missing. The bookshelves are hollow. Even the curtain rods are gone. I walk through room by room. My old bedroom, bare walls, carpet dented where the bed frame used to sit. Mom and Dad's room, closet open, empty hangers, the faint outline of a dresser on the carpet like a ghost. The kitchen is the worst and the best. Worst because the cabinets are bare. No plates, no glasses, no mismatched mugs. The fridge is unplugged and propped open. The stovetop is dusty. Best because, in the corner on the windowsill above the sink, tucked behind a dead basil plant, I see them. Mom's salt and pepper shakers, handmade ceramic, painted blue and yellow, slightly lopsided. She made them in a community pottery class the year I turned 12. They were the ugliest things in the kitchen, and she loved them more than the fine china. Derek didn't take them. He probably didn't even see them. I pick them up, one in each hand. They're lighter than I remember. I sit down on the kitchen floor. The linoleum is cold. The house is empty. The light through the window is thin and gray. And for the first time since Mom died, I cry. Not because I won, not because of the money or the house or the trust, because it doesn't smell like her anymore, and no amount of money can bring that back. 2 months pass. The call comes at 9 p.m. on a Thursday. Unrecognized number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Bree. Derek's voice is small, not angry, not defiant, just tired. The voice of a man who's run out of rooms to pace. I messed up, he says. I know that. I sit on the porch steps, my porch now, and listen. The crickets are loud. The street is dark. I was scared, he continues. The debt, it was eating me alive. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't tell Carolyn the truth until it was too late. I thought if I controlled the estate, I could fix everything, pay off the suppliers, keep the company, keep the house. You didn't just take money, Derek. He's quiet. You took my name. You sent that email to the whole family. You told them I was nothing, that I didn't care about Mom and Dad. You said it to my face, in front of everyone, while I was still grieving. Silence, long and heavy. I know. And you changed the locks on the house while the family was at Mom's memorial. You put my clothes in trash bags. I know. Another pause. The crickets fill the gap. I hope you get the help you need, I say. I mean that. The bankruptcy attorney, the offer still stands, but I can't be the one who gives it to you, Derek. I can't be your safety net and your punching bag at the same time. He breathes, shaky. So that's it? Forgiveness isn't the same as access. I can wish you well from a distance. I wait. He doesn't respond. Goodbye, Derek. I hang up. I don't block the new number, but I don't save it either. The porch light flickers once. I stay outside until the stars come out. 6 months later, the house looks different. I replace the siding, pale gray, the color Mom always wanted, but Dad said was too modern. I fixed the cracked porch light, sanded and restained the back fence myself, the way Dad taught me. The inside is still half empty. I'm in no rush to fill it. Some rooms don't need furniture yet. They just need time. On a Sunday in October, I invite Uncle Ray and Aunt Patricia for dinner. First meal in the house since I moved back in. I make chili, Mom's recipe, the one she never wrote down but I memorized by watching her hands. Kidney beans, not pinto, cumin heavy. A bay leaf she always swore made the difference and probably didn't. The table is small, a 3-person folding table from the hardware store. Uncle Ray brings a bottle of wine he's been saving. Aunt Patricia brings an album. We eat slowly. Uncle Ray tells a story about Dad getting lost on a fishing trip in 1996. Patricia laughs. The first real laugh I've heard from her since the funeral. I refill the bowls. After dinner, Patricia opens the album. There's a photo near the back. Me and Derek, maybe 7 and 13, grinning in the backyard. He's holding a garden hose. I'm soaked. Mom's shadow stretches across the grass behind us. I look at it for a long time. You going to keep that? Patricia asks. I slide it out of the plastic sleeve and prop it on the windowsill, next to Mom's salt and pepper shakers. Not because I miss who he became, I say, because I miss who we were. Patricia reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't need to. Uncle Ray clears the dishes without being asked. The commercial lot on Route 9 sat empty for 2 years before the trust transferred it to me. A flat acre of gravel and weeds, sandwiched between a feed store and a closed-down diner. Dad bought it in 2014 with the idea of building a workshop. He never got around to it. I got around to it. It took 4 months of permits, contractor bids, and site prep. I designed the layout myself. 4 small retail units, each around 600 square feet, with shared parking and a courtyard in the center. Nothing flashy. Clean lines, good light, affordable rent. I leased the first unit to a woman named Grace, who'd been running a bakery out of her kitchen for 3 years. The second went to a bookkeeper starting her own firm. The third to a seamstress who'd been on a waiting list for commercial space downtown for 18 months. The fourth I kept open. A woman named Dana, recently divorced, 2 kids, launching a small catering company, signed the lease the week before the grand opening. I named the complex after Mom's middle name. The sign went up on a Tuesday. The Eleanor Shops. Uncle Ray cut the ribbon with a pair of garden shears. Aunt Patricia brought flowers. Yellow tulips, Mom's favorite. Grace handed out samples of lemon pound cake. The bookkeeper shook my hand and said something about it being a good omen. I stood in the courtyard and looked at the sign. White letters on green. Simple. Derek wasn't invited. I didn't mention him. Nobody asked. Mom never saw this place. She never got to walk through the courtyard or smell the lemon cake or see her name above the entrance, but she made it possible. Every square foot of it. This one's yours, Mom, I whisper. And I mean it. People ask me sometimes, friends, tenants, the occasional relative who's heard the story secondhand, whether I regret how things went, whether I'd change anything. The answer is complicated. I don't regret the trust. I don't regret the reading. I don't regret blocking Derek's number or asking him to leave the house or filing the fiduciary complaint. Those were decisions made with clear eyes, and I'd make every one of them again. But I grieve the family I thought I had. I grieve Sunday dinners and shared holidays, and the version of Derek who held a garden hose in the backyard and laughed until he couldn't breathe. That person existed once. Maybe he still does, somewhere underneath the debt and the fear and the pride. I don't know. It's not my job to dig him out. A boundary is not a punishment. I had to learn that the hard way. For years, I confused loyalty with tolerance. I let people treat me poorly because I was afraid that pushing back meant I was the problem. It doesn't. Pushing back means you know where you end and where someone else begins. It means you respect yourself enough to say, this far and no further. My parents didn't leave me the trust because they loved me more than Derek. They left it to me because they knew the way only parents can, that if they didn't build a wall, Derek would bulldoze through everything I'd worked for. They protected me the only way they could, with paperwork and a good lawyer and a letter written in blue ink. The truth doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes it just needs the right envelope and the right person to open it. I didn't win. I just stopped losing myself to someone else's version of who I was supposed to be. Sunday evening, late October. The air smells like dry leaves and wood smoke from someone's fire pit down the street. I'm sitting on the porch, my parents' porch, my porch now. In the chair Dad refinished the summer I turned 16. The cushion is new. The frame is the same. It still creaks on the left side when I lean back. Mom's salt and pepper shakers sit on the small table beside me, next to a mug of coffee that's gone lukewarm. The photo of me and Derek is inside, on the kitchen windowsill, catching the last of the light. The street is quiet. A neighbor's dog barks twice and stops. A car passes. The wind moves through the maple tree Dad planted, and the leaves make a sound like paper shuffling. I don't call anyone. I don't check my phone. I don't open my laptop to look at property listings or rental income or account balances. I just sit. In the house my mother loved. On the porch my father built. In the life I made for myself, one decision at a time, starting with a duplex at 22 and a belief that I was worth more than what other people were willing to see. Some people need the whole world to know they matter. I just needed to know it myself. That's my story. My brother thought kicking me out would break me. He didn't know our parents had already made sure I'd be okay, and he didn't know I'd been building my own foundation for a decade. But the real lesson isn't about money or houses or trust documents. It's about knowing your own worth, even when the people closest to you refuse to see it. So here's my question. Would you have forgiven Derek, or would you have walked away for good? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story hit close to home, there's another one in the description that I think you need to hear. Thanks for staying with me.